Monsignor, His Excellency the Most Reverend Jose Palma, the Archbishop of Cebu, has invited, in response to the invitation of the Archdiocesan Discernment Group, convened by Monsignor Quintana. We are here to express unity with the rest of our brothers and sisters, Filipinos in the country and abroad, in calling for a thorough investigation of the pork barrel scam. For this is an atrocity which may have deprived hundreds of thousands of poverty-stricken Filipinos of their share in the Priority Development Assistance Fund, or PDA, and other funds. We are here to bring you prayer and to call the attention of our Lord to enlighten us, to enlighten our leaders, and to enlighten those responsible for this great injustice to the country and to our country's poor. In other words, we are here to try to inflesh our love of neighbor, and at the same time to inflesh our pain over our public officials' misuse of people's money. What is love of neighbor but responding to the grief of our neighbor? Our neighbor's children may have no chinelas or shoes to go to school with. Our neighbor can only buy rice at the sari-sari store that is igo ra sa panihapon because he could not afford more. But what about his family's breakfast, lunch, or dinner the next day? Our neighbor lives in the streets and has nowhere else to go. These are the people who may be victims of this injustice. In more ways than one, our church has responded to many of our neighbors' griefs, but without money, our church can only do so much. We have so many committed lay volunteers, but without money, we can only do so little. And who has the money? Seemingly bottomless barrels of money. The government, of course, for it is the repository of the people's trust and resources. But now, realize how officials in public office, in collaboration with corrupt citizens, may have used, if not wasted, public funds for their own selfish gains, and money that should have been spent to provide classrooms and school supplies, it seems, went to the pockets of the government officials and their callous collaborators. Money that should have been spent for poor Filipinos who go hungry may have been spent at politicians' parties and feasts as if there were no tomorrows. Money that should have been spent to provide housing for the homeless, health care for the indigents, and job opportunities for the unemployed have ended up missing from the public coffers because, as some lawmakers have said, it is not their duty to find out where the money went. We are here, therefore, to grieve with our neighbor who have been disadvantaged all these years by a political system which has systematically allowed dishonesty, a lack of transparency, a lack of accountability. A political system which has systematically allowed corruption among honorable officials. Isn't it a bit unfair that an ordinary mangumuot sa Colon gets jailed at BBRC, but then culprits of the pork barrel scam and other scams remain scot-free and are still in the hallowed hall of our legislature? There are many lessons to be learned here, my dear brothers and sisters in the Lord. First, let us look no further than ourselves. For even in the church, we may have contributed to the perpetuation of such political corruption. Archbishop Socrates Villegas, Archbishop of Lingayen Dagupan, warned that we in church can contribute to the corruption by grabbing a piece of the pie through our solicitations from government officials, from candles and flowers during fiestas, to basketball uniforms and balls, to bags of cement, to the use of government bulldozers. We tempt the public officials to get money from gambling or the pork barrel in order to accommodate us. Kaya walang hihingi. I quote this from the incoming president of the Catholic Bishops' Conference of the Philippines. Second, I'd like to share with you a thought that somehow provoked my sentiments as I prepared for this homily. These are the thoughts of a certain dean, Dean Antonio M. Lavinia of the Ateneo School of Government. He said, and I quote, "I hope that as early as this year, the COA will conduct an audit of the use of the PDAF from 2010 to 2012. I would like to know, for example, if that is discoverable through audit. If there is basis for the accusation that the PDAF has been used to get favored results in the impeachment of Chief Justice Corona or the passage of the Reproductive Health Bill. No matter what position one took on these contentious issues, such a practice, if true, must be stopped because it is essentially corrupting and goes to the heart of the integrity of our political system." End of quote. Now what Dean Lavinia seems to be saying is that PDAF may have been used to bribe honorable senators and congressmen to force the passage of the Reproductive Health Bill of 2012, even against the strong opposition of the Church and other segments of Filipino society. In other words, pork barrel money may not have been just stolen from the kaban ng bayan to individual pockets, but that this same pork barrel money may also have been used to tempt lawmakers to vote favorably for Republic Act number 1035-4 or the Responsible Parenthood and Reproductive Health Act of 2012. Heartbreaking, if true. Enough to make us join Cardinal Tagle to weep for the poor and to weep for the country. But let us not forget that we are a people of faith. So we pray for the profound change of heart of the perpetrators of this great injustice to our poor. But we pray for conversion, starting with ourselves. Walay mangayo. We pray for conversion of our leaders, that they may not treat public's money as if it were discretionary funds, to act as stewards, mere stewards of public trust, which they are. Conversion is to say yes to Jesus and to all that He stands for, and to say no to sin, to say no to the evil one, and to all that He represents. We need to be anchored in faith, for this has become a collective struggle between good and evil. So we are then calling our President, Benigno Aquino, to please listen to the people. So we humbly ask our President to listen to the people whom He calls His bosses, to give ear to us, whom He calls His masters, that He makes the Aming Matuwid not just a hollow sign or a hollow slogan, but a real lived and trodden path, not only for us, but also for his co-workers in government. May I also say that it is not lost on us that we celebrate today National Heroes Day. This is a powerful reminder to us that we are a people capable of heroism, capable of choosing what is true, what is good, what is noble. And we don't have to be in the despicable and squalid condition of human persons reduced sa pagkababoy. We are much better than that. We are much more dignified than that as a people. We are a breed of heroes and saints. Why do I say that? Cardinal Vidal shared with us that after the election, when the new Pope Francis I was socializing with the cardinals, Cardinal Vidal approached him, and then Pope Francis asked him, "From where are you?" And Cardinal Vidal said, "From the Philippines, Your Holiness." And then Pope Francis said, "The Philippines, the land of saints." Because it may have been just fresh to him, the canonization of San Pedro Calungsod with 6 others. So we are a breed of heroes and saints, and we can do much better than what we are doing today. So, through our gathering this morning, we also call on people of faith, that the light of Christ may lead us to follow the path that leads us away from corruption and greed, a life of simplicity, to live simply, that others may simply live. We call on people of faith that the light of Christ may lead us to follow the path of a life poured out for others, just like Jesus, our Master. A life lived in accordance with God's laws, according to God's will. We seek through the intercession of Our Lady of Guadalupe, our beloved patroness of the Archdiocese, so that in this communal gathering and discernment of ours, we may, like her who visited and helped her cousin Elizabeth in her pregnancy, and who came to the assistance of the couple who ran out of wine in the wedding of Cana, walk not only the da'ang matuwid, but also the way of truth, even if it leads us to the way of the cross, that we may truly become God's people, God's faithful people.